Honourable Chair, sisters and brothers, comrades and friends, first of all, I want to bring comradely greetings to this conference from the Independent Socialist Network. We have been enthusiastic supporters of TUSC since its inception. We saw the launch of the Trade Unionist and Socialist Coalition as an important and significant step towards what we in the Independent Socialist Network believe is an absolute necessity for working class people in this country, and that is a mass united socialist party, an unequivocal socialist party, one that does not fear to say, to emblazon on its banner, that we are opposed to the profit system, we are against capitalism, and the only alternative to the system that oppresses, that exploits, is a system of common ownership, democratically run, with the means of production owned and controlled, democratically planned by the working class, by those that create the wealth in society. The Independent Socialist Network aims to organise those people who are not in an organised socialist group, such as the Socialist Party, the Socialist Workers' Party, or the many others that exist in Britain. And we want independent socialists and independent trade unionists who aren't represented in the two big organisations in TUSC, or aren't members of the RMT, which is represented in TUSC. We want a space, a place, and a democratic voice for all those, I say, potentially millions of people. Certainly at this stage, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who could be won to the banner and the ideas of TUSC. And so we have supported the Trade Unionist and Socialist Coalition. And Hannah has referred to our bulletin. I'm grateful to Hannah. Always, publicity is always good publicity. And also I'm grateful for the time that she's taken up to answer some of the points that we've put forward. This is an important discussion and an important debate, and I'm going to come back to it in the latter part of my speech. But we're talking about the general election, first of all. And I agree with what Hannah said and with what Charlie said about the importance of the general election, about the importance of raising the banner of socialism, of putting forward an alternative, not just to austerity, not just to the cuts, but putting forward an explanation. Because I do not believe that we have won this argument on austerity yet within the majority of the working class. Of course, everybody hates cuts, but most people still think they're necessary. We have to put forward an argument about why austerity exists. Austerity exists because it is demanded by the profit system. It is demanded by capitalism. Capitalism in crisis has to squeeze the working class. It has to force them to work longer hours. It has to force them to work for lower pay. It has to squeeze the budget in central government expenditure. It has to make the working class pay. It's driven by the diktat of the unelected, unrepresentative capitalist market. And we, as socialists, have been on the back foot. Our arguments have not been heard. Our arguments are not pushed as strenuously, as loudly as they otherwise could have been. And that's because for many, many years we have been pushed back. There is a layer of people who still hold true to socialist ideas, but maybe they're not active. Maybe they're working away inside the trade unions. We need to bring all of those people together and make sure that the ideas of socialism are passed on to the radicalising new generation. Now, in this election, we have a magnificent opportunity to begin that task. It isn't that we're standing, in my opinion, because we think we're going to get fantastic votes. By and large, I think we're not. By and large, I think we're not going to get such good votes. Maybe some areas we will. For me, that's not the important thing. For me, the important thing is that socialists, working class activists, working class thinkers, who want to fight to protect the working class communities, who want to protect workers, who want to protect the unemployed, those on benefit, the sick, the disabled, who want to fight against racism, fight against nationalism, fight against oppression, sexism and everything else, all of those people have a voice and can find a home where they can work together collectively to begin to change things. So, 100 parliamentary candidates. It means that we gather around us 100, at least 100 groups of people who can be drawn into our orbit. Those 100 groups have got to become 100 branches. 100 branches of TUSC. And this is where I part company with some of the arguments of Hannah. It doesn't mean that we disagree on all the fundamentals, but we believe that we need to begin to discuss how we take the step that everybody on the platform, all the organisations involved in TUSC, how we move from the here and now, where we're a coalition, and that's a significant step, and I'm not trying to bounce or speed anybody into a united party ahead of their wishes, but it's an important discussion. If we say we need a new mass party, then when? Then how? What structures? And so that's an important debate, an important discussion. I would say we want to move beyond federalism. Federalism may be good now, we agree or disagree on that, but we need to move to a mass, united, democratic party. And so, in the course of the general election, when we're drawing these people together, we need to discuss how do we keep it going? How do we make sure that the banner that we used in these elections doesn't get lowered immediately afterwards? How does it carry on being raised? How does the banner of the Trade Unionist and Socialist Coalition continue? By making sure that those groups of people, those putative branches, continue functioning, not as inevitably will happen, and I'm not criticising the comrades for this, the Socialist Party or the Socialist Workers' Party, but TUSC, so that people can see that TUSC is here and it's here to stay, and that they can join it. Hannah made reference, I think, to 350,000 people that have joined Podemos. I think we're a long way from that. But you can join Podemos. You can join Syriza. Syriza was a coalition, it's now a party. Now, there may have been particular reasons in Greece why that was done and so on. But we, in my opinion, should have this discussion. People will build and fight and promote and put time and money into something over which they have a say. And you have a say if you've got a membership card which gives you the right to a vote. Now, this conference is fantastic. It's a real achievement. But this conference can vote whichever way it wants on any of the resolutions. But the decision will be made on the steering committee about what to do, for example, if the ISN resolution, removing the word racist from that particular clause, then at the steering committee, the veto of the Socialist Party will be used to remove it. Now, that's where we are at the moment, and I'm not suggesting that we walk away, because this is a debate that is ongoing. But that, to me, is a lack of the democracy that I would expect in a mass democratic socialist party, where not one group or even one trade union general secretary should be able to say, well, I'm not agreeing with that. And frankly, I disagree with Bob Crow on immigration controls, and I explained that in the discussions that we had around No to EU. I explained why supporting work permits was not a socialist position and should not be supported by socialists. So that's again something that we have to have as a debate within any organisation, within TUSC now. And I'm just going to move on because that issue was raised. just before I do that, just a few more points on this question of a party. At the moment, as a coalition, we're fortunate enough to have different organisations contributing, experienced, talented individuals like Clive, like Charlie, like Hannah, like Dave, and many, many others. But what we don't have, actually, even as TUSC, we don't have a national apparatus, we don't have a national finances, we don't have a national structure, we have a website, we don't have a party press. All of these things would make us stronger. If you think about what people have been talking about of promoting the socialist alternative, then clearly we can do that better, united, together, with a single voice, with a single structure, with a single centralised leadership, with a single publicity department, press apparatus, rather than using the myriad talents that we've got, writing for separate newspapers and so on. Of course, I'm not going to win this argument with the comrades in this room at this particular moment. But if we're going to build a mass socialist party, who is going to be the majority in it? It's not going to be members now of the Socialist Party or members now of the Socialist Workers' Party. It's going to be people that have not been and have never been in any socialist organisation. So we need a party for people that they can join. And that's the argument that we're putting forward. Now, clearly, that's not going to happen overnight. Nobody's suggesting from the ISN that that should happen now. But it's a debate and a discussion that we need to have. We need a party that stands clearly for socialism. It's not to be, in my opinion, a Labour Party Mark II. A clear socialist party. Not a party that wants to manage this system, not a party that wants to tinker it with quantitative easing or any other form of Keynesian financial management, but one that argues for a root and branch fundamental change from top to bottom in the way that society is organised. Take it out of the hands of the rich and put it into the hands of the working class. That's got to be the act of the working class itself. And this brings me finally to the last point. I just want to say a few words on the question of the racist immigration controls. I know that Dave Landau is going to move the resolution. But for me, you see, if we are going to persuade the working class of our arguments, we have to put our arguments out there. If we say that we stand for a society without borders, if we believe in the free movement of individuals, then we have to say that. And if we lose votes as a result of saying that, then so be it. That's where we are at the moment. That explains the consciousness of our class at the moment. We have to have a sense of patience. We have powerful arguments. I believe that working class people, who historically, actually, in Britain, have always sided with the oppressed. Look at the side that they took in the American Civil War against slavery. Look at the position that they took on slavery generally, and so on. There's a rich tradition in the British working class, which we need to tap into, because if we don't put forward our arguments, then the rotten, racist arguments of UKIP and others sets the agenda. And what they do is, every time they take a step to the right, Labour and the others follow them. And we've got to put our mast in the ground and anchor ourselves to it and stay there and argue for people to return to us. And if we don't do it, you see, very few other people will. So that's my argument on this. I don't know how the vote is going to go. I would ask you to support the amendment. Whatever happens, we've got a monumental task ahead of us between now and May, and then thereafter. What I would like to see is those 100 branches, those 200 branches, those 300 branches over the course of the next 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, so that we are building the basis for a mass, united socialist party which offers working class people a real alternative. Thank you.
One of the greatest problems that the working class has faced in terms of its political representation from the socialist left is the division and the disunity, and that's why the the bulletin that we put forward from the Independent Socialist Network is called Socialism and Unity. We want a united party of socialists. This may cause some mirth or a controversy. I see no reason why all socialists, certainly all Marxists, should not be in the same party, debating and debating out the different issues, the problems, how to present things, what slogans and so on. We split a lot of the time on what I consider to be secondary issues of tactics or presentation. Those issues can always be sorted out. Debate, discussion, dissent comes with being part of the working class. You can't go out of an evening without having a discussion and a debate about things. A political party that we aspire to would have to incorporate different views. And I think the way that the debate this afternoon has been handled is a model of how we could do it in a party. Just want to say that, of course, I'm just going to take up some of the arguments that were raised that I wasn't able to raise before. Of course, nobody is suggesting that a membership organisation in and of itself answers all of the problems, that it's a panacea. You have to have elan, you have to have drive, you have to have flair. But just look at this question on immigration. Why is it that the right wing, and UKIP primarily, but all of the other parties and the press, why is it that they're able to get away with this barrage of propaganda, of ideology on the question of racism, on the question of immigration, of asylum seekers, of attacking Muslims? Why are they able to get... We know that that's what they're going to do. What we don't have is a significant party, with a party press, with propaganda, with publicity, using our skills to put out our arguments on a weekly, on a daily basis, taking them up. If we had a party that was united, bringing together, we would be able to turn that around. I take Hugo's point about who sets the agenda. But let's start asserting ourselves. Let's be more confident. Let's go out. On this question of the racist immigration controls, I'm going to finish on this. You don't avoid the issue by keeping the word racist in. I have to say, it seems to me from the arguments that have been put forward a fudge to avoid the hard question. People are going to still ask, well, if you're against racist immigration controls, are you in favour of non-racist immigration controls? And then the question has to be answered yes or no. I'm not clear from some of the contributions what your answer would be. My answer is I'm not in favour of any immigration controls. The working class has an internationalist outlook. It needs to make that clear and not allow the capitalist press to scapegoat workers from different countries and try to divide us on those lines. Thank you.